With rapid growth and harvests taking off, there's plenty to keep our green fingers and thumbs busy right now. So let me share some tips to help you keep your garden moving along nicely. But first, potatoes. These guys have been tantalising me with their lush and verdant foliage for a while now. I started them off at the tail end of winter and they grew on so quickly in the greenhouse over there. Now I did move them back and forth in case of frosts, and then I brought them out a few weeks ago because it was now too hot in there. Well, I reckon it's time to harvest them. It's a bit of a gamble, but I do think an educated one because I can feel some little potatoes in there. Now these are early season or first early potatoes, which are generally ready within about 3 months of planting, which would bring us to about now. Having had the warmth of the greenhouse early on, I reckon this crop is about 2, possibly even 3 weeks ahead of my outdoor potatoes. Right, I've got a bit of tarp down and this is the moment of truth. I genuinely don't know what we're going to get here. Let's see. There we go. I am absolutely thrilled about this. Yes, they're not the biggest, but these early creamy sort of hen's egg sized potatoes are absolutely the royalty of all potatoes and will make a fantastic early salad. This is what gardening is all about. Moments like these. I know these are going to be just sublime. Wow. Back in spring, we planted these fava or broad beans together. Then last month, put in place these twine supports here to stop everything from flopping over. Well, now look at them. And if you look here, we've got, well, lots of flowers on them now. Another few weeks and I'll be picking my first pods to enjoy with more of my sensational summer spuds. So I'm having a look and I've already got some black bean aphids here, and I've noticed some ants as well elsewhere have been moving in anticipation of those aphids. But to stop this getting any worse, what I'm going to do is pinch out the tops now. There's a bit of a guessing period as to when to actually do this because there are still flowers forming, so I didn't want to pinch them off too early in case more flowers were going to develop. But I think we're pretty much at the final height for them now, so we're good to pinch them off. So why am I doing this? Well, the black bean aphids love kind of this fresh young growth. So by removing it, I'm denying them plenty of juicy meat to kind of land on. I'm not going to waste these though. These can be steamed or used just like any other green, like spinach, for example. So they're going into the kitchen. When the pods start coming, I'll inspect plants every couple of days, then carefully remove the pods, either cutting them away or supporting the plant as I tug the pod free so as not to damage the plant itself. And I'll be picking them at a nice plump stage. Then I will shell them or get a young person to help with that and enjoy them as soon as I can. This is another early summer treat to savour, let me tell you. I like them shelled, then boiled and then cooled off to enjoy as part of a sort of springtime salad. I'm thinking mint, shaved radishes, some crumbled feta and maybe some pine nuts toasted to finish them all off. That sounds good, doesn't it? Harvest asparagus using a very sharp knife, cutting about 1 inch below the surface once the spears reach little over ankle height. But by early summer, you need to stop harvesting and let plants grow on to produce their feathery, ferny fronds. Now don't be tempted to push it. More spears might be coming up, but you really need to ease off now to let these guys grow. You can cut them back in the autumn once they've turned yellow to tidy things up and to remove homes for things like asparagus beetle. But right now, we need these guys to act like solar panels to catch all the light and recharge the rootstock ready for next season. The arrival of warmer weather has finally seen this lot put on a bit of a growth spurt. And look, we even have our first flowers. Now these are all vining or indeterminate tomatoes, and I can now start kind of twirling them around their string supports like this. I will also be removing all of these kind of side shoots or suckers here between the leaf and the main stem. And that's because in my cooler climate, plants can then concentrate on flower and fruit production rather than more stems. Now over here are my cucumbers, and these are going to be trained and grown in exactly the same way, twirled around these twine supports here, and I'll remove side shoots as well. Leafy greens are famously good for us, fueling our strength, better immunity and general good looks. Well, for some of us at least. Well, now is the perfect time to plant them, whether that's from young plants that you've grown from seed yourself or bought from the garden centre. And I've got some beautiful, lovely red stem chard to plant today. But before that, I'm just going to add some compost to this area. And it's the compost left over from growing those potatoes. So this will still have plenty of nutrients in it to go on and feed the chard, so we're not wasting any of it. I'm going to space these about a foot or 30 centimetres apart, and a little tip for you here is if you've got a garden implement you know is about a foot, then use that as your spacer. It's really handy because this is exactly 1 foot across, and then I got room for about 8 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split a few of them apart where they're joined up like this. Just get in there, carefully tease them apart, and then use those spaced out. Now this chard will crop maybe from later on in the summer, carry on through the winter and potentially well into next season as well. So this is really giving a lot of value for the time and effort involved. Now chard and kale, for example, make excellent succession or follow-on crops, following on from like an earlier crop of, say, early season potatoes. If you're using our garden planner, you can view your garden month by month and then see where gaps appear and then choose a vegetable of your choice to fill that gap. Early summer brings a new opportunity for many pests, including many of the moths and butterflies that trouble our brassicas. So what I've got here are my calabrese or summer broccoli and my cauliflowers. And if you'll permit me a modest boast, I think they're looking rather good. This netting was originally put in place to keep the pigeons off, but the problem now is that the butterflies can land and lay their eggs through the netting here, which is touching it. So we need to swap over to something like this insect mesh here. So that is what I'm going to do. When you're putting it down, of course, make sure you secure the sides really properly so that the butterflies can't get in underneath. This is pushing it a bit. I might have to swap it out for an even bigger bit of insect mesh, but this will do for the next week or so. It's not just planting we can be doing now, there's still lots to sow too, with the main focus on follow-on or succession crops, including winter hardy brassicas like sprouting broccoli and lovely main crop roots for lifting from the autumn onwards. I sowed quite a few in our latest sowing video, which I will link to below, so do check there if you are seeking inspiration. Looking at these beautiful lettuces here, it makes me aware that these will be over in a couple of months, so I need to sow some more of these, so let's do that now. And what I'm going to sow is this time a cos or romaine type of lettuce to give lovely, crunchy, crisp, firm leaves for those kind of Caesar salads. There's one herb that really doesn't thrive unless it's Mediterranean warmth, and that is of course basil, a great companion to tomatoes. Now it's lovely and warm now, and because it's a bit later in the season, these guys are going to germinate and grow really quickly, so this is a great one to sow early in the month. And the most reliable one in my opinion is your standard Genovese basil, which is great in salads, pestos, pastas, all of that. And to sow it couldn't be simpler. It's just a scant pinch of seeds scattered across the surface of sieved all-purpose potting mix. I always forget to pre-wet the potting mix actually. That would probably be easier than watering afterwards, but either way works. And then to finish, because basil likes it nice and humid and to create that lovely intimate warm environment they love, I'm just going to pop a bag over the top, secured in place. Now, what I'll do is keep this out of direct sunlight, probably pot it underneath my greenhouse bench there until the seedlings appear, then this will come off and then I can prick them out and grow them on. Now I may well make another sowing later in the month or early next, so that I get a succession of pickings right through the summer and on into early autumn. While we're in here, let me show you another job that's important as temperatures start to soar: keeping cool. Maintaining a cooler environment on hot days is important for plant health and to aid pollination. Did you know, for example, that over about 90 Fahrenheit or 32 Celsius, tomato pollination falls off a cliff? And I think the reason is that the pollen dries out and becomes dust dry, so it doesn't stick onto the female stigma and rather just rolls off. As well as keeping any windows, doors and vents open, another thing you could consider is shading. Now my roof here is pretty grimy, but that rather conveniently will serve as shading. I'd like to say it's by design, but well, it's probably more laziness, but it works for me. Another tool in your coolsome armoury is damping down, which is just the gardener's term for sploshing the wet stuff around. Just water any hard surface like paving, and then as it evaporates, it will not only create a lovely humid environment, it will also help to cool things down and give plants a much more comfortable time of it. Now, damping down like this is also a great way to help avoid spider mites. Spider mites hate humid conditions, they prefer it drier, so this will really help. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Try saying that after a long day's gardening. Well, in our case, it's Peter potted on perfect peppers. These guys here are due an upgrade. All peppers, whether sweet peppers or chilies, love it warm, and once it turns nice and toasty, you may find that previously sulking plants put on a real growth spurt. Well, check they've got enough room to carry on growing. Check the roots by inverting it like this, supporting it between your hands and lifting off the pot to check the roots. And if they're all quite close to the edge like this, well, it's time to pop them on. To do that, I'm going to use my go-to pepper mix, which is about half all-purpose potting mix, half coir or coconut fibre, and then a few little handfuls of perlite just for extra drainage. Start by mixing it all up, and I'm going to be using a pot or pots that are slightly bigger than the original pots to pot them up into. Pop some of the mix into the bottom of the pot, and then I'm just going to gently tickle the roots here so they get into the fresh mix. And pop it in and fill in around the sides, pressing it down as you go to get a nice cosy snug fit. Remember that all fruiting vegetables will need feeding once they start flowering to promote all of those beautiful fruits, and I would use something that's high in potassium, such as a liquid tomato feed. Well, we can't be far off the first pickings of summer fruiting favourites, making this an incredibly exciting moment in the gardening year. Now do tell me what you are up to in your garden down below. Check out the latest sowing video here, and I will catch you next time.